Go. When going becomes your modus operandi, life gets crazy good. Chapter 4. Busy, busy, busy. If the devil had a coin printed in his honor, one side might be tails for laziness, and the other side might be heads for busyness. Both of these issues are used by the enemy to effectively keep God's people from obeying his command to go. I've met a few people who were just too lazy, but the bigger of the problems is being too busy. In today's world, many place busyness right up there with godliness, but that's a mistake. Just because someone is busy doesn't mean they are effective. It's like getting 100 yards a game rushing every week, but never scoring a touchdown. The game is won by scoring more points, not running for more yards. One of my favorite sayings on this topic is, if the devil can't make you sin, he'll make you busy. He's good at it too. He can make you so busy you don't even realize that you're too busy. Some may confuse busyness with diligence, but there is a significant factor that is often lost. The factor is prioritizing. For followers of Jesus, our top priority should be obedience. That way, when we are busy doing the right things. Since, quote, go into all the world, end quote, is a command that we are to obey, being too busy to go is disobedience. Much of what consumes our time could be done by others. Some have a tendency to overvalue themselves, thinking that no one can do it as good as them. While that could possibly be true, maybe whatever the project is doesn't require that degree of expertise. A little more planning and a little less doing could solve the issue. Abraham Lincoln said, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I will spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe." I equate the sharpening the axe to planning. While planning can go a long way towards overcoming the excuse of busyness, I think the real key to winning this battle is the setting of priorities. I assume that followers of Jesus would agree that the top priority we have is to walk in obedience to the Lord. While there are many other important commands, one that is clear in the Word is to go. So when reviewing your priorities in life, where does go show up? Maybe it's time to get your calendar out and pick a time to go. This can be done before the finances are all figured out too. We'll talk about the challenge of finances later in this book. So go ahead and plan in faith to go. If you do, there may be some fun surprises in your future. I have come to the realization that most people have the time to do what they really want to do. I know people who are extremely busy and have a lot of responsibility at work, yet they find the time to spend 6 hours on a weekend and go to an NFL game. Most guys I know would make major adjustments to their schedule if Tim Tebow called and wanted to spend a day playing golf. What if a distant relative called and said they had $50,000 for you from inheritance money, but you needed to come to Chicago and pick it up? I don't think you'd have any problem getting to Chicago. Busyness, all of a sudden, isn't so restrictive. In most cases, we'll do what we really want to do. Much of our busyness could be accurately termed confusion. I can remember back in the 6th grade when I was the president of our student council. We met one afternoon and the teacher who had the responsibility to oversee the council wanted us to come up with a new nickname. We discussed it a little and then she decided that it would be the Westview Busy Bees. To say I was embarrassed would be an understatement. But Busy Bees does describe what the lives of many people look like today. We have soccer practices, soccer games, dance recitals, church meetings, neighborhood board meetings, youth group, small group meetings, dental appointments, and the list goes on and on. We are busy people. But when we get to heaven, I don't think the Lord is going to be impressed with our kids' soccer record, or how clean our neighborhoods had been, or how many hours we spent at church meetings, or even how straight our teeth are. All of these are good activities in and of themselves, but we need some priorities. We need some self-discipline so we can say yes to the best and no to the rest. The best for followers of Jesus is obedience to Him. I was leading a team years ago when we traveled from Israel to Jordan by bus. When we arrived in Amman, Jordan, it looked like we had just entered a beehive of human proportions. The crowd at the bus station was out of control. Then they started unloading our luggage. We had around 20 people on the team taking part in a 2-month outreach, so the amount of luggage was large. I was standing on some steps trying to keep track of our luggage and team members when an older gentleman came up to me and calmly, in a slow, low voice, said, "I can help you." His demeanor was calm and peaceful. He was able to get all of our luggage into 4 taxis along with our team. For the rest of our time in Jordan, he became our guide. Hisham was his name, and he became a friend for many years until his passing away. Hisham's impact on our chaotic situation illustrates the impact that priorities can have on a person's busy bee life. Priorities bring a calmness, help in the decision making, and give us peace once the decision is made. Going as your modus operandi means that to go and make disciples becomes a priority in your life. Obviously, you will have more than one priority, and they need to be clear. I personally have 6 priorities in my life, one of which is to go to every country and preach the gospel. Yours will be different than mine, but obedience to Jesus is foundational. As you may know, Youth with a Mission is the largest Christian mission organization in the world. We have over 1,000 operating centers around the world. Each one is quite different, and many have distinct vision. Our base in Jacksonville was founded with the vision of taking the gospel to those who have never heard, referred to as unreached people groups. This clear vision helps me say no to many opportunities. If someone comes to me and asks if we are willing to train a team to go to Haiti, the answer is immediate and obvious. No. There are ministries and churches throughout Haiti, which is a good thing. But going to Haiti doesn't fit with our vision. All of YWAM is committed to the general call to go, while many of our centers have specific vision within that big one. It is the same for us as individuals who have the modus operandi to go. We go where and when and to whom as Jesus gives us specific assignments. Busyness can be like a drug, something you become addicted to. When you do have a pause, you look in the mirror and wonder what's wrong. The problem isn't that you have a full schedule. The issue is when the full schedule has you. It begins to control you to the point where your daily to-do list becomes like a full-length book. The problem with this is that you aren't able to do what the Lord would have you do because you're so busy doing what everyone else wants you to do. The key is ending the rat race so that you can, quote, win the race. 1 Corinthians 9:24. Win the race the Lord has for you. There can be times, even while in the midst of going, that busyness makes effectiveness very challenging. Years ago, I took a team to Vietnam. We spent the majority of our time in Hanoi, which is in the north and under strong communist control. The streets were extremely busy with motorcycles, bicycles, people walking, and cars. It was a crowded, chaotic mess. With the chaos and communist government, we had to be very careful in our attempts to minister. We did a lot of prayer walks and tried to talk with individuals when the opportunities presented themselves. The time was tiring, so we took a day and went to a beautiful bay called Halong Bay to have some fun. It was a day off that was well deserved. We rented a boat and were about to sail out into the bay and do some swimming when a mom with her 3 kids approached our translator and asked if they could go with us. Our translator came to me with the inquiry, and I said, of course. We pushed off from the shore and headed out into the beautiful emerald water. When I introduced myself to this family, I found out that the oldest of the children, Nia, spoke English. Immediately, I knew that the Lord had arranged a divine appointment. Once we got out into the bay, there were no more police to be concerned with, and the chaos was calmed. So I began a conversation with Nia. How do you share the gospel with someone who has never heard about the existence of God? Nia had no concept of a God and definitely had never heard about Jesus coming, dying, rising, and ascending. Being that we were in this beautiful bay, I started at the beginning. I shared with Nia how this beautiful bay did not happen by accident. The design required a designer, and we call him God. But even better than his created nature was the creation of man, and specifically Nia. I had Nia follow along in a tract so he could both hear and see what I was saying. I thought it prudent since English was his second language. When I turned to the last page, I didn't even have to ask the question that was printed at the top. It said, quote, "Would you like to receive the free gift of eternal life?" End quote. He read it, looked at me, and said, yes. Nia and I came down the steps from where we had been sitting, and I told the team what had just happened. They clapped and cheered for Nia, and then we were able to give him his first Bible as a gift. Enduring the chaos of Hanoi was all worth it to see Nia give his heart to Jesus. While busyness is not listed as a sin, it sure can be a powerful weapon in our enemy's disposal. As our team had to literally leave Hanoi and go to the bay, so too there may be times when we have to intentionally leave the busyness to find the fruitfulness. We need to take time to think about our activities and evaluate our priorities. If we don't, we'll continue like the rat running in the wheel while staying in the same place. It becomes a place of comfort due to familiarity, but not much is accomplished of eternal value. God is not impressed with our long to-do lists or our busy calendars. He is more interested in fruitfulness that comes from obedient living. It's when he sees a person whose modus operandi is going that he pulls out his debit card on the bank of heaven and says, "Let's do this."